MC Lyte began her story by sharing how, for a long time, she truly believed she had found her forever partner. After years of living under the spotlight, facing ups and downs both in her career and personal life, she thought her marriage was her safe space. To the world, it looked like a fairy tale. Her husband appeared loving, supportive, and always by her side whenever the cameras were on them. Friends, fans, and even people inside the industry admired the way they looked as a couple. Lyte herself admitted that she felt blessed, as though all the struggles of the past had led her to this moment of peace. It was almost too perfect, the kind of stability she had prayed for in a world where so many things felt uncertain. She carried herself with pride, believing that her marriage was not just strong but unshakable. As time went by, little things started to change, though at first they seemed harmless. Her husband began taking more late-night phone calls, often stepping out of the room to answer them. When she would ask who it was, his replies were short and vague, usually blaming work or just a friend. Soon, unexpected business trips became more frequent. Sometimes he would pack up suddenly and leave without giving much detail about where he was going or why it was so urgent. Lyte wanted to believe his explanations, but she could feel a growing distance between them. Even in small moments at home, she noticed he wasn't as present as before. The conversations that once flowed easily now felt forced, and the laughter that filled their home seemed to fade. Friends quietly mentioned that he seemed distracted or not as devoted as he used to be. Still, she brushed off their concerns. She defended him fiercely, telling herself that marriage has ups and downs, and that stress or workload might be the reason. Deep inside, though, a quiet uneasiness began to grow, a feeling that something was not right, even though she couldn't yet put her finger on what it was. One ordinary evening, while tidying up around the house, MC Lyte stumbled upon something that immediately unsettled her. She noticed unusual receipts tucked inside his jacket pocket, charges from places she didn't recognize, expensive dinners, and gifts that she had never received. At first, she tried to calm herself by thinking maybe they were related to business or work obligations, but the doubts in her heart wouldn't let her rest. Not long after, she accidentally came across hidden bank statements that didn't match the financial story he had been telling her. Accounts she never knew about, money moving in ways that didn't make sense, and transactions that raised more questions than answers. Lyte's hands trembled as she looked through them, her mind racing with possibilities. Then came the moment that changed everything. While using his laptop one afternoon, she discovered private text messages he had forgotten to delete. The tone of the conversations was intimate and secretive, nothing a loyal husband would be having with someone else. It felt like a punch to the stomach, proof that her fears were not just in her head. Though she wanted to deny it, the evidence was becoming impossible to ignore. She had entered a space she never imagined for herself, one where trust was no longer certain and every smile from him felt like a mask hiding something much darker. One evening, while putting away laundry, MC Lyte noticed a folded piece of paper in her husband's jacket pocket. It was a receipt from an upscale restaurant in a part of town she had never visited with him. The dinner for two was far too expensive to be a casual meal, and the date on the receipt matched a night when he had told her he was working late. At first, she laughed nervously, trying to convince herself there had to be an innocent reason. Maybe it was a business meeting, maybe he was treating a colleague. But in her heart, the uneasiness grew stronger. As days went by, more strange signs appeared. Hidden among their mail were bank statements from accounts she never knew existed. When she opened them, her stomach dropped. Thousands of dollars had been withdrawn and transferred, with no explanation. The secrecy around money felt like a betrayal in itself. She had always believed in honesty and partnership, yet here she was, staring at proof that something was being kept from her. The breaking point came when she borrowed his laptop one afternoon. He had forgotten to log out of his messages, and there they were, strings of conversations filled with affection and promises to someone she didn't know. The words were undeniable. It wasn't just financial secrets or strange behavior anymore. It was clear that her husband had a life outside of their marriage, one that he had carefully hidden from her for months, maybe even years. Lyte sat there in silence, her heart pounding as if the walls around her were collapsing. She remembered the way he smiled, the way he said he loved her, and suddenly all of it felt like a performance. The shock was overwhelming, but beneath it was a rising anger. She realized that she was standing at the edge of a truth she could no longer ignore. After days of sleepless nights and a heart full of questions, MCLyte knew she couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. The evidence she had already discovered was heavy enough, but she needed the full truth. At first, she thought about confronting him directly, but a part of her was afraid he would twist the story, deny everything, or make her feel as if she was imagining things. That fear pushed her to take a step she never thought she would, hiring a private investigator. The days that followed were some of the longest of her life. Every call from the investigator made her chest tighten. And then the confirmation came. Her husband wasn't just being secretive, he was living a completely separate life. The investigator revealed details that made her feel like she didn't even know the man she married. He had been meeting another woman regularly, taking trips that had nothing to do with business, and spending money to maintain that hidden relationship. But the betrayal didn't end there. The more Lyte learned, the deeper the wound cut. She discovered that he wasn't only lying about another woman. He had entangled himself in financial dealings and friendships she had no knowledge of. It was as if he had built a second identity, one carefully kept away from her eyes. The realization hit her hard. While she was pouring love and trust into their marriage, he was investing time, money, and emotions somewhere else. The confrontation finally came one night when she could no longer hold back. Looking him in the eyes, she demanded the truth. At first, he tried to deny it, his words stumbling, excuses tumbling out one after another. But when faced with the evidence she had gathered, he broke. He admitted enough for her to know that the life they had built together was filled with lies. That moment shattered something inside her. It wasn't just about cheating or dishonesty. It was about the years of pretending, the countless times he looked her in the face and told her half-truths. The man she thought she knew, the partner she trusted, had been living as someone else all along. The days after the truth came out were some of the darkest MC Lyte had ever faced. She described the feeling as if the ground beneath her feet had disappeared, leaving her floating in a storm of confusion and heartbreak. Nights were the hardest, lying awake, replaying every memory, every smile, every "I love you" he had ever spoken. Suddenly, all those moments felt tainted, like scenes from a play where she was the only one who didn't know the script. The pain wasn't just in what he had done, but in how deeply he had betrayed her trust. Lyte admitted that she felt humiliated, not just as a wife, but as a woman who had defended him against whispers and doubts. She remembered times when her closest friends tried to warn her, but she had chosen to believe in him instead. That realization burned inside her, because it meant she had ignored her own intuition in the name of love. Even in public, where she always carried herself with grace and strength, the weight of her secret was unbearable, smiling for fans, showing up for events. While privately her heart was breaking, it was a mask she wore every day. The silence became its own prison, because protecting his image meant sacrificing her own peace. Anger, sadness, and disappointment blended together, leaving her drained and exhausted. At moments she even questioned herself, wondering what she had done wrong, what she could have done differently. But deep down, she knew the betrayal was not her fault, it was his choice. And while the truth cut her deeply, it also began to awaken something in her, a realization that she could no longer live in denial. After carrying the weight of silence for so long, MC Lyte finally reached a point where she could no longer keep the truth hidden. She realized that protecting his image meant destroying her own peace, and that was a price she was no longer willing to pay. The rumors had already started spreading, and whispers about her husband's double life were circulating quietly in the industry. Instead of letting the world speculate, she made the brave choice to confirm it herself. When she finally spoke, her words were calm but powerful. She admitted that the marriage she once believed in had been built on lies, and that she had discovered her husband was living a secret double life. She didn't go into unnecessary details, but she shared enough to let people know the pain she endured was real. Fans were shocked. The media erupted with headlines, but for Lyte, this wasn't about creating a scandal, it was about reclaiming her voice. She explained that staying silent only protected the guilty, while speaking her truth gave her the strength.